Call your sponsor.
Call you sponsor.
Call you sponsor.
Call you.
Bitch, call your
Welcome to Bitch Call Your Sponsor. I'm Sam.
I'm Mitzi.
Hi.
Hello, Tom.
Sorry. I just stepped. Hold on. Sorry. My screen. Anyway, it's a lot to describe. Shall we do our primary purpose?
Let's. Our primary purpose is for Misty and Sam
To
to
grow
their friendship and maybe help others.
Okay, so this week has been a bit of a roller coaster. I was a bit sick, and my Oura Ring told me that I should just relax and go into recovery mode because it takes my temperature. Anyway, that was 48 hours of just in bed. And so my topic is a bit scattered because it's reflective of my week.
Good.
And the title I came up with was Bits and Bulbs. And what I wanted to talk about is just the stuff. I think the thing that has been coming to me is, the extremes of the recovery journey, where I love everything and then I hate everything. And then, it's like the extremes and how I'm so comfortable in them. And what I'm realizing is that from whatever I was able to encounter this week, there's a certain level of smittenness, and then there's a certain level of sickness where I'm just ugh, why, And a lot of it for me has been around the revolving of the stories, and it's actually an annoyance. And I think a lot has to do with me being on halts and the tired being just sick. Is the level of tolerance I have around the narrative. And how the narrative is so seductive and elusive and and it's blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yes, and it's it's kind of like one of those things of everyone's doing this thing, and it's and then who's the common denominator? It's oh, me, and so there's that thing that's been coming up, for me, this kind of intolerance. I'm on that level, that end of the whole thing. And then I'm just going to quickly say last Sunday, it's after New Year's, we're still in the new year, so it's recruiting season, lots of newcomers, fabulous. And I was just feeling a lot of, I wanted to rip, if I had a Cabbage Patch doll or a Barbie, I would rip the head off, and I would rip it to see how many things I could rip it to shreds. And I just was wanting this, if I still had my hair, I would have done a Britney moment and, found an SUV with an umbrella. I literally, I was in that, I still am a little bit, and so yeah, I guess I'll just leave it there and see if anything's resonating on your end.
What is an example of the narrative? A real life example.
Okay, so I took a call the other day of somebody that has seen them at multiple meetings, different meetings, and the narrative is that they're out. It's similar. It's this vibe of they're out to get me. No one's here to help me succeed. And it's the classic victim role, which I tend to not go into. I tend to avoid it at all costs personally. And I seem to have a tolerance for it when I'm spiritually fit and not sick. But it was this continuous narrative that I've heard in multiple meetings, can you believe this person did this to me? I don't feel safe, and, I'm I'm like, okay, so I'm taking this as face value, and I am going to believe everything they're saying and know that this story sounds familiar because I've heard them share this in multiple meetings, you know? And so I've started working with this new sponsor. And so I reached out and I said, hi, I just want to check in because my reaction is like, you know, my first thought was call your sponsor, bitch, call your sponsor. And what happened was it was like so much, I just did not respond immediately. I had other things that were priorities on my list to get done, you know, and it was like the meeting was over. It was like there was nothing really for me to do. And what ended up happening was they ended up leaving me a voicemail.
But wait,
and
we haven't really heard like what they did. Like
harassment, like people are bothering them. They're playing footsies. They're flirting with them.
Gotcha.
The two people are texting next to them and texting about them next to them. Like a lot of this self-centered kind of, which may or may not be 100. I understand that, you know. And so, but
it doesn't need all the just power through.
Well, so here's the thing. It's like I then, you know, the suggestion was, because I was going to just say, call the group chair. Do you know what I mean? If there's like a violation, if you don't feel safe, whatever. And my sponsor was like, yeah, you know, that actually, I have heard that same story in another meeting by that same person. And I actually spoke to that person about what they were sharing. This is like, you know, somebody with 45 plus years. And I was like, well, what would you suggest? I was like, normally I would suggest that they reach out to their sponsor. The voicemail had said that they no longer have a sponsor on top of all this stuff. And so my sponsor said, just let, this last instance was they were being cornered somewhere, sitting in between people, basically. It was what it was in the back. And they suggested, well, just suggest that maybe they move their positioning in the meeting and then revisit it, you know? And so that's all I did is I just suggested, you know, my suggestion is to move where you're seated and maybe sit in the front row and reevaluate it and see if you're still getting the same things still happening.
Wow. So this person isn't your sponsee, and it's somebody with 45 years sobriety, and they're just calling to complain.
No, my new sponsor has 45 plus years sobriety. The person has been this person has been in and out of program. Their continuous narrative over many years, multiple coasts, multiple everything, you know?
Yeah. Oh, that is so good. And so the topic is?
Well, the topic is the overall, huh?
Like the ick from, go ahead.
Ick, you know, of the stories, these narratives. It's like there's no application of the program, and my level of tolerance when I'm sick is very little. And, you know, in general, it's like, it's almost become an eye roll for me at this point, because it's like, I don't necessarily have that victimese mentality. And I understand that that's the opposite side of where I am. And it's both part of the disease. Not that I've never had it. I tend to gravitate to the grandiose side of things.
Oh my God. Okay. I got it. This is so good. I have a new sponsee calling and had so much drama you would not believe going on. And I have this thing of like, when I'm in a good place and applying all the principles in all my affairs and feeling like so connected, that when people are going through stuff, I'm like, why aren't you just doing the stuff? Like, it's almost the opposite of you being sick, you know, where I'm like, just do the stuff. There's a solution, like, duh. But it's the same, we get to the same point, right? Where it's just like, come on, people, do the stuff. Why are you doing all this? And it can feel like an adult with a toddler that can't walk. It's like, come on, why can't you walk? Forgetting that I was that toddler at one point. But it can be sometimes so simple to apply the principles in all our affairs. So yeah, I had to exert the same kind of patience you're talking about with all the drama. And what I do with it is when they say this is really hard, I go, yeah, it's really hard. Like I don't, my experience is when I'm in the victim mode and when I've seen other people be in the victim mode is they don't want solution. And that every solution I provide, they provide a counter story as to why it's not going to work. And so what I've learned to do when I assess a situation and realize, oh, this person's in victimese, like they want to be here, they're tied to it, it's giving them a dopamine hit, whatever it is, I go, you're right, it's horrible. And you know what they do? They go, well, it's not horrible. And I go, yeah, it is. Sounds horrible to me. And they go, well, like I could pray or something. Oh, you could pray? And it seems to work really well for alcoholics when they get tied to that victim story, when I will just mirror it back to them. And I'm not saying every time somebody complains, I'm not saying every time there's contrast, any of that. But when I can tell, like any solutions I provided are just met with walls, and I'm like, oh, I know what this is. I know what it is because I've been there. I'm not judging. But I also know what works. And let me just get down in that mud with you and tell you, oh, yeah, we're never getting out of this mud.
So I appreciate that. And I love that, kind of mirroring, echoing. There's a few cases come to mind where I'm just like, oh, yeah. Like, have you ever worked with somebody that is a permanent victim?
Yes.
And they have the tools and they apply it, but it's like such a blind spot, but it's rooted in trauma.
Yes, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. It's rooted in all the stuff that we're doing the ACA work on. And it's that thing of when you come out of the womb and you don't get love, food, safety, security, joy, whatever it is, you're going to go one of two ways. One is to hide underneath the pile and say, everything's my fault. And the other one is to get up on the top of the pile and beat your chest and say, everything that's wrong is everybody else's fault.
Yep.
And the equanimity is the place in the middle, the people that were born and they like immediately had their needs taken care of and they were held and they were loved and they were fed and they know this world to be a safe place. And you're right, those other people believe that the world is unsafe and either people are out to get them or they're always wrong.
Well, I've had it, they're going to be our guests as well. I've had it. You turned me on to that podcast, which I do love.
I love it.
I have had, today, it's a 24-hour program I've had it with the narrative,
I validate that.
It's for me it is a huge, colossal waste of time. And I don't have capacity for it today. So I'm purposely not responding to certain people because I just know I've been around long enough and have been in communication where it's not something, even if I do this thing, it's like, I just am not, I guess it's the ACA of like, where is little Sam today and what does little Sam need? And then based on that, seeing what else I can, what service I'm actually really capable of showing up for.
Oh my God, I love it. I think it's really healthy because the longer I do the work of internally healing, the more I want to go where there's sunshine. That's where flowers grow. You can find flowers out in the wild. And if there's a bunch of shade, the flowers will naturally lean towards where there's sunshine on the house. And that's me. That's where you will find me today. The more of this work I do, I lean towards that sunshine. I lean away from the shade. literally the shade. No, thank you. I'm not doing it. I don't your story. Like, I've had people that I work with who want me to go on these fantastical like journeys of delusion with them, these hypothesis, if you will, of everything that could go wrong with whatever solution that I'm suggesting, and not me, like the steps or the prayer or somebody in a meeting or whatever it is, you know? And I'm like, that's not where we are today. If we get there, I'm happy to assess that, but I'm not going to review a conversation you haven't had with someone and what you should say. And all of this applies to me. Like, my life got so much like a percentage enjoyable the day that I said I'm refusing to have a conversation with somebody who's not in front of me physically.
God, I love that.
I won't do it. And my head will start to go there. And I'm like, oh, honey, it's okay. We're not doing that anymore. We're going to have conversations with people who are physically in front of us. We're not going to have imaginary conversations about how bad it is or how much you could have told them off or how they hurt you or any of that with somebody who's not physically in the room with you. I will not entertain those conversations.
Okay, this is so beautiful because I actually, you know, this is called Bits and Bobs, which for me is like a catch-all. However, I did see, you know, a prior episode there was a note about, you know, the artist's way and creativity, and I was thinking to do a hee laugh, like, and call this the art of letting go ... of people.
So good. So good.
And the reason why I was thinking that is because the healthier I get, the healthier my picker is. Oh my God.
Preach.
It's healthier, and I'm finding healthier people actually attractive.
Preach.
And I'm not looking for those jolts of ecstatic toe curling, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, actually like, oh yeah, this is interesting. I don't need to know everything, figure out all of that stuff. And so on the sponsee side of things,
Your sponsor. Call you sponsor.
Call your
Sponsor. Call you.
Bitch, call your sponsor.
Call your sponsor. Call your
Send us an
sponsor.
email with comments, questions, or concerns bcysponsor@gmail.com.
Don't forget to rate 5 stars.